So let's stop for just a minute and let me talk to you a little bit about the Reformation and the Catholic Counter-Reformation. This is sort of part of the history of Catholicism and Protestantism that you have to understand in order to understand the arc going forward. We're not going to see direct evidence of it right now, but we will see evidence of it later on in our discussions about the Renaissance. So it all starts with this guy here. His name is Martin Luther. And Martin Luther wakes up one day and says, I'm going to take a trip to Rome. And so he travels to Rome to visit Pope Julius, where Julius is building the new St. Peter's. Martin Luther lives in Germany, which is his home, and so he gets to Rome and he becomes very upset. Martin Luther is also upset because popes are having children out of wedlock. This is Pope Alexander the Sixth son. It's his child. And so we all know that Catholics are not allowed, popes, Catholic leaders are not allowed to be having sex at all because they aren't married, and therefore they're having sex and out of wedlock on top of it. The other thing they were doing that was really upsetting Martin Luther is that they were practicing nepotism. Nepotism is the practice of hiring a family member for a job that doesn't necessarily have the qualifications to work that job. So they were appointing family members in royal positions and in religious positions. The person that you see standing behind Leo is Leo's nephew, Luigi de Rossi. So Martin Luther gets really upset about these things that the Catholic Church is doing, and so he says, I won't step one foot back into church until these things are fixed. He goes back to Germany. He writes 95 things that he thinks are a problem within the church. And we called it his thesis. That's where we get the modern day term, a thesis. It's a identification and a solving of a problem. And so Martin Luther nails his 95 theses to the front of the Catholic Church in Germany and says, if you want me to come back, you're gonna have to fix this stuff. That act caused the Protestant Reformation. Protestant Reformation was a new system of religious practices. The Protestant Reformation begins right after Martin Luther nails those 95 theses to the door of the German church in 1517. The Catholics get wind of the Protestant Reformation, and there is a big meeting held called the Council of Trent. It starts in 1545 and goes every year until 1563. During that time, the Catholic clergy set rules for artwork in the church. We'll go over those rules next class, but for now I just want you to know that the Catholics launch a counter-reformation, and it lasts from 1545 to 1648. One of the things that Martin Luther was upset about was the worship of graven images, meaning he felt like the churches were using pictures to worship. And so iconoclasm begins. Iconoclasm literally means the destruction of an image. It's usually done for political or religious reasons. It was endorsed by John Calvin. He's the one that started the United Methodist movement. But Martin Luther did not agree with destroying the images. Um, but there were waves of iconoclasm throughout Northern Europe. It began in about the 1500s in Zurich, Switzerland, and just keeps going throughout Northern Europe.